There is a feeling that comes before the thought of good, before the mind names anything. There is just this moment, this breath, this awareness of being here. And in this simple awareness, before words arrive, there is no problem of good and evil. There is just what is, the light in the room, the weight of the body against the surface beneath it, the sound of nothing, or the sound of something far away, and it is enough. But then the mind stirs, and with the stirring, a current begins. A current that has flowed through human awareness for as long as there has been anyone to notice it. The current of judgment, the current of separation, the current that divides the world into this and that, into welcome and unwelcome, into right and wrong, into good and into what we have learned to call evil. This current runs deep. It runs beneath almost every thought. It colors every perception. It shapes how we feel about ourselves, about others, about the past that has already gone, and the future that has not yet arrived. And yet it is not the only current. Beneath it, deeper still, there is another movement, a slower movement, a quieter one. This is the movement of simple awareness itself, the awareness that watches the current of judgment without being swept away by it, the awareness that can hold both the thought of good and the thought of evil without becoming attached to either. This awareness is what is left when the thinking slows, when the labeling stops, when the mind rests. And it is from this place of rest that we can begin to look at this ancient division, not to solve it, not to argue about it, not to take sides within it, but simply to let it be present, to let it float in the field of awareness, to let it soften, to let it become something that can be looked at rather than something that looks through us, because that is what usually happens. We do not see good and evil as concepts. We see through them. We see the world already divided by them. And we forget that the division is something the mind has made, something the mind has inherited, something the mind has agreed to without ever really choosing. So let us begin here, not with answers, not with definitions, but with a gentle turning of attention toward this very old question. This question that has haunted human sleep and human waking for as long as there has been anyone to ask it. What is this thing we call good? What is this thing we call evil? And more importantly, what are they to the simple awareness that watches? What are they to the quiet space in which all thoughts appear and disappear? What are they to the one who is listening to these words right now, breathing, resting, simply being here? The body breathes in and out, without effort, without instruction. The breath moves by itself, as it has always moved. And in the rhythm of the breath, there is something very old, something that was here before any human ever thought about good, something that will be here long after the last thought about evil has dissolved. The breath is not good. It is not evil. It simply is. It rises. It falls. It continues. And in this simple continuing, there is a kind of peace. A peace that does not depend on things being right. A peace that does not require the world to be other than it is. This peace is always available. It is always here, beneath the noise of judgment, beneath the constant evaluation, beneath the endless trying to make things better or to avoid things getting worse. The peace of simple being, the peace of just this breath, just this moment, Just this awareness, open and empty, and full at the same time. But the mind is restless. It wants to do something with this question. It wants to find an answer. It wants to take a position. It wants to build a system that explains everything, that sorts everything into its proper place. This is what minds do. They organize. They categorize. They separate. And this tendency to separate is not itself good or evil. It is simply how the mind works, how it makes sense of a world that is too full, too complex, too much. The mind draws lines. It says, this belongs here, and that belongs there. It says, this is me, and that is not me. It says, this is acceptable, and that is not. And among all the lines the mind draws, none are more powerful than the lines drawn between good and evil. These are the lines that shape civilizations, that inspire wars, that build religions, that tear families apart, that bring people together in love and in hatred. These are the lines that live inside each of us, shaping how we see ourselves and everyone else. And yet, these lines are not solid. They are not fixed. They are not found in the world outside the mind. They are drawn by thought. They are maintained by thought. And they can be seen by awareness for what they are. Not ultimate truths, but useful fictions. Or sometimes, not so useful. Sometimes, these lines become cages. They trap us in rigid ways of seeing. They prevent us from understanding others. They prevent us from understanding ourselves. They make the world smaller, harder, more divided than it needs to be. Consider for a moment the feeling of calling something good. What happens in the body when you think of something you consider truly good? Not just pleasant, but deeply, fundamentally good. Maybe it is a person. Maybe it is an action. Maybe it is a quality, like kindness or courage. Notice what happens. There might be a softening, a warmth, a sense of expansion. The body relaxes slightly. The breath deepens a little. There is a feeling of rightness, of alignment. Now consider the feeling of calling something evil. Again, not just unpleasant, but deeply, fundamentally wrong. Notice the shift. The body may tighten. There may be a pulling away, a contraction, a sense of hardness. The breath may become shallower. There is a feeling of wrongness, of misalignment. These are not abstract judgments. They are bodily experiences. They are felt sensations, and they are real. They are not just ideas. They are lived realities. But notice something else. Notice that the feeling of goodness and the feeling of evil are both felt by the same awareness. The same space that opens in warmth is the same space that tightens in rejection. The same awareness that experiences the expansion is the same awareness that experiences the contraction. The awareness itself does not become good when it feels goodness. It does not become evil when it feels the presence of what it calls evil. It remains. It watches. It holds. It is the unchanging background against which all these changing feelings appear. And in this noticing, there is the beginning of freedom. Not freedom from the experience of good and evil, but freedom within it. Freedom to feel the contraction without being completely defined by it. Freedom to feel the expansion without clinging to it. Freedom to let these powerful experiences come and go without losing the deeper sense of simply being here. The world is full of actions. Actions that help. Actions that harm. Actions that heal. Actions that wound. And it matters which actions we take. It matters how we treat each other. It matters whether we cause suffering or relieve it. This is not being questioned here. What is being questioned is something more subtle. What is being questioned is the solidity of the categories themselves, the way we take these living, flowing, complex experiences, and freeze them into labels. The way we take a person who has done harm and call them evil, as if that is all they are. The way we take ourselves when we have done something good and call ourselves good, as if that defines us completely. Life is not like that. Life is movement. Life is change. Life is a river, not a collection of frozen moments. And yet we freeze. We label. We judge. And then we suffer. Because the labels never quite fit. Because the person we called evil does something kind, and we don't know what to do with that. Because we ourselves do something we consider wrong, and our whole identity as a good person is threatened. The labels become a source of confusion, a source of conflict, a source of pain. There's another way, not a way without judgment, not a way without preference for kindness over cruelty, but a way that holds judgment more lightly, a way that sees the label, but also sees beyond it, a way that can say, this action caused suffering, and also see the countless causes and conditions that led to that action, a way that can say, this action relieved suffering, and also see that the one who acted is not permanently defined by that moment. This way is not moral relativism. It is not saying that everything is equally good or that nothing matters. It is saying that everything matters too much to be reduced to a simple label. It is saying that human beings are too complex, too vast, too full of possibility to be captured by any single word. It is saying that we ourselves are too mysterious to be fully known, even by ourselves. And in this admission of mystery, there is room for compassion, room for understanding, room for the possibility that we might be wrong about someone, or about ourselves, room for growth, room for change, room for forgiveness. The breath continues, in and out, and with each breath, the body relaxes a little more. The shoulders soften, the jaw loosens, the eyes rest more deeply in their sockets. The mind begins to slow, not because it is being forced to slow, but because it is being allowed to slow, because attention has turned away from the endless stream of thoughts and toward something simpler, the breath, the body, the space of awareness itself. And in this slowing, the great categories of good and evil begin to lose some of their power. They are still there. Thoughts about them still arise, but they arise in a larger space. They float like clouds in a wide sky, and the sky is not disturbed by the clouds. The sky holds them and lets them pass. The sky remains. You are that sky, not the clouds, not the judgments, not the categories. You are the awareness in which all of this appears, and that awareness has never been touched by any of it. It has never been made better by good thoughts. It has never been made worse by evil thoughts. It has simply witnessed, silently, patiently, eternally. This is your deepest nature. This is what is always here, beneath the noise. This is home. But the mind may resist this. It may say, but this is too passive. This is too accepting. What about the real evil in the world? What about the suffering? What about the need to act, to resist, to make things right? These are important questions. They come from a genuine place, from a place that cares about the world and wants to see less suffering in it. And they deserve to be heard. They deserve to be held in awareness, just like any other thought. So let them come. Let the mind raise its concerns. Let it argue. Let it protest. And simply watch. Watch the energy of concern arise. Watch the need to act, to fix, to change things. Watch the feeling of urgency, of importance, of moral necessity. These are real feelings. They are powerful. They move people to do great things, and sometimes terrible things. But watch them as they arise. Notice how they feel in the body. Notice the stories they tell. Notice how they claim to know what is right, what is necessary, what must be done. And then notice something else. Notice that behind all of this, there is still just awareness, still just this open space, still just this capacity to witness. The concern arises, and awareness knows it. The urgency arises, and awareness knows it. The certainty arises, and awareness knows it. And awareness is not troubled by any of it. It simply knows. It simply sees. It simply allows. This does not mean that action is wrong. It does not mean that we should not try to reduce suffering in the world. It means that action can come from a different place, not from the fever of certainty, not from the contraction of fear or anger, not from the rigid conviction that we know exactly what is good and who is evil, but from the quiet clarity of awareness itself, from a place that sees suffering and responds, not because it has to, not because it is following a rule, but simply because suffering is there and response is natural, like water flowing downhill, like a plant turning toward light, like breath moving in and out. This is action without the burden of absolute judgment, action that is free because it is not defending an identity. It is not trying to be good. It is not trying to avoid being evil. It is simply responding to what is in the way that seems most fitting in this moment. With this awareness, with this understanding, think of a time when you acted with genuine kindness, not because you were supposed to, not because you were trying to be a good person, but simply because the situation called for it, because someone was suffering, and helping felt as natural as breathing. In that moment, was there a thought about being good? Or was there just the action itself, flowing from awareness? Probably there was no thought at all. There was just the seeing and the responding. The kindness was not something you did. It was something that happened through you, because the situation and your awareness met in a certain way. And afterward, maybe the mind came in and said, "That was good." It labeled it. It claimed it. It turned it into something that could be remembered, something that could be added to your identity as a good person. But the action itself was before that. It was free of the label. It was pure. It was simply what happened. Now think of a time when you acted in a way that you later regretted. A time when you caused harm, even if you didn't mean to. Or a time when you knew you were causing harm and did it anyway. In that moment, was there a thought about being evil? Or was there just confusion, or fear, or anger, or need? Was there just the sense of being caught in something, of not knowing what else to do? Probably the thought of being evil came later. Afterward, the mind came in and said, "That was wrong. It labeled it. It judged it. It turned it into something that could be regretted, something that could threaten your identity as a good person. But the action itself was before that. It was also just what happened, given the conditions that were present in that moment. This does not excuse harmful action. It does not make it okay, but it does put it in a different light. It suggests that the person who acted harmfully was, in that moment, caught in a limited awareness. Awareness was narrow, contracted, overwhelmed by fear or desire or confusion, and from that narrowness, harm arose. Just as from open awareness, kindness arises. This is not about blame. It is not about praise. It is about seeing clearly. It is about understanding that the quality of our actions is deeply connected to the quality of our awareness. When awareness is open, spacious, resting in itself, action tends to flow in ways that are helpful, harmonious, kind. When awareness is contracted, identified with thoughts, caught in reactivity, action tends to flow in ways that are harmful, divisive, unkind. The problem is not that some people are good and some are evil. The problem is that awareness gets lost. It forgets itself. It becomes identified with the contents of consciousness and mistakes them for who it is. And from that forgetting, all harm flows. From that forgetting, the lines are drawn. The enemy is created. The other is dehumanized. The terrible things are done in the name of good against those who are called evil. This is the tragedy of the human condition. Not that there is evil in the world, but that the attempt to eliminate evil so often becomes evil itself. That the fight against darkness so often creates more darkness. That the certainty of being right is the most dangerous certainty of all. The room is quiet. The body rests. The breath moves slowly, gently, without effort. And in this quiet, there is space to consider something that is not often considered. The possibility that good and evil are not two different things. The possibility that they are two sides of the same coin, two expressions of the same energy, two ways that the same awareness can manifest, depending on how open or how contracted it is. This is not to say that they are the same. A kind action and a cruel action are not the same. They have different effects. They produce different experiences. They lead in different directions. But the source is the same. The source is awareness, moving through the world, shaped by conditions, by history, by culture, by personal experience, by the state of the body, by the thoughts that happen to be present. And if the source is the same, then the division between us and them, between the good people and the evil people, is not as solid as it seems. We are all capable of both. We have all been kind, and we have all been cruel. We have all acted in ways that relieved suffering, and we have all acted in ways that caused it. This is not comfortable to think about. It is much more comfortable to believe that we are on the side of good, and that those who disagree with us, or those who do terrible things, are on the side of evil. It simplifies the world. It makes us feel safe. It gives us a clear identity and a clear purpose. But it is not true. Or rather, it is only partially true. It is true in the sense that our actions matter, and that we should try to act in ways that reduce suffering. It is not true in the sense that there is a permanent, solid division between the kind of people we are and the kind of people they are. That division is made by thought. It is maintained by thought, and it can be dissolved by awareness. Think of someone you consider to be evil, someone who has done terrible things, someone whose actions you cannot understand or accept. Now, instead of focusing on their actions, focus on them as a being who was born just like you, a being who wanted to be happy just like you, a being who wanted to avoid suffering just like you, a being who was shaped by conditions they did not choose, by parents they did not choose, by a culture they did not choose, by a brain they did not choose, by thoughts that arose in them, just as thoughts arise in you. Can you feel any connection to that being? Any sense that underneath everything, underneath all the terrible actions, there is simply another instance of awareness, lost, contracted, suffering in its own way? This is not to excuse the actions. The actions may be unforgivable in human terms, but the being behind the actions is still a being, still a part of the same mystery that you are, still a manifestation of the same awareness that is reading these words right now. This is a difficult thought. It goes against everything we have been taught, against every instinct for self-protection, against every desire for justice and punishment. But it is worth considering, not because it changes anything about what should be done in the world, not because it means we should not protect the innocent or hold people accountable for their actions. Well, no, but because it softens something in us. It softens the hard lines we have drawn. It opens a door to something that is not judgment, not condemnation, not self-righteousness. It opens a door to understanding. And understanding, even of the worst things, even of the worst people, is not the same as approval. It is simply seeing the full complexity of how suffering arises, how harm is caused, how beings become what they become. And in that seeing, there's a kind of peace, a peace that comes from not needing to hate, a peace that comes from not needing to see anyone as completely other, a peace that comes from recognizing that the line between good and evil does not run between us and them. It runs through every human heart. It runs through every moment of consciousness. It runs through you right now as you read these words. The breath continues. The body rests. The mind, if it is willing, can begin to let go of the need to be right, the need to be on the winning side of the cosmic battle between light and darkness, the need to see oneself as fundamentally good. These are heavy burdens. They require constant vigilance, constant self-justification, constant defense against any evidence that might threaten the story. But what if it is not necessary? What if you are not fundamentally good and not fundamentally evil? What if you are simply awareness, appearing as a human being for a little while? What if the whole drama of good and evil is a kind of dream that awareness dreams while never leaving its own true nature? In the dream, the battles are real. The stakes are real. The suffering is real. But the dreamer is not touched. The dreamer rests peacefully through all the violence and all the love, all the tragedy and all the joy. And when the dream ends, what remains? What remains is simply awareness, empty, open, full of all possibilities, touched by nothing. You are that dreamer. You are that awareness. And even in the midst of the dream, even in the midst of all the judgments and all the struggles, you can rest as the dreamer. You can know yourself as the awareness that is dreaming this human life, not as a character in the dream, fighting for good against evil, but as the space in which the whole drama unfolds. This is not an escape. It is not a denial of the reality of suffering. It is a different relationship to suffering. A relationship that is not based on fear, not based on hatred, not based on the desperate need to make everything right. It is a relationship based on presence, on being fully here with whatever is happening, without being lost in it. From this presence, action can arise that is truly helpful. Action that is not contaminated by the very things it is trying to fight. Action that comes from peace, not from conflict, from clarity, not from confusion, from love, not from fear. This is the action that heals. This is the action that truly makes a difference. Not because it is more effective in worldly terms, but because it carries no poison. It leaves no residue of resentment or self-righteousness. It simply does what needs to be done, and then rests again in awareness. Think of the great teachers who have spoken about this, not just in one tradition, but in many. They all point to something similar. They all say that the ultimate reality is beyond good and evil, that the absolute is not divided, that the deepest truth is not a truth of separation, but of unity. They do not say that good and evil are meaningless in the relative world. They do not say that we should stop trying to be kind or stop opposing cruelty, but they say that the final reality, the reality that we are in our deepest nature, is not captured by these categories. It is something else. And something before the division, something that includes both and transcends both, something that can only be pointed to, never fully described. This is what is meant by words like emptiness, or sushness, or the uncreated. This is what is pointed to when the finger points at the moon. The finger is not the moon. Dangerous, he's not the moon. The words are not the reality, but they can point, they can suggest, they can open a door, and through that door, if you are willing to look, you might see something, something that has always been here, something that has never been absent, even for a moment. The simple fact of being aware, the simple presence of consciousness, the mystery that you are, before you are anything else. The breath moves. The body rests. The night is deep, or the day is quiet. And in this quiet, the mind can begin to release its grip on the need to understand, the need to figure it all out, the need to have a position. These needs are themselves part of the dream. They are movements within awareness, not awareness itself. And they can be allowed to settle. Like sediment in still water, they can sink to the bottom, leaving the water clear. The clear water is awareness. The sediment is all the thoughts, all the judgments, all the struggles. When the water is clear, you can see through it. You can see to the bottom. You can see that the bottom is not solid either. It is just more water, more clarity, more space. There is no final ground, no ultimate foundation, no fixed point to stand on. There is just this moment, just this awareness, just this open, empty, full presence. And it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. But the mind may still want to hold on to something. It may want to hold on to the idea that some things are absolutely good and some things are absolutely evil. It may want to hold on to the comfort of certainty, the comfort of knowing who is right and who is wrong, the comfort of having an enemy. Because if there is an enemy, then there is a purpose, a mission, a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to fight. And for many, this is more important than peace. Peace can feel empty. Peace can feel like giving up. Peace can feel like losing oneself. But what if peace is not empty? What if peace is full? Full of everything without clinging to anything. Full of all possibilities without needing any of them to be realized. What if peace is the most alive state there is? What if the fight, the struggle, the certainty are actually the deadening things? What if they narrow us, shrink us, make us smaller than we are? Consider this possibility. Just consider it, without having to agree or disagree, without having to decide. Just let it float in awareness. The possibility that peace is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. The possibility that letting go of the battle between good and evil does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means becoming free, free to respond to each moment as it actually is, not as our categories tell us it should be. Free to see each being as they actually are, not as our judgments have labeled them. Free to act from clarity, not from compulsion. Free to live without the burden of being right all the time. The room is still. The breath is soft. And in this stillness, there is a sense of something vast. Something that has always been here. Something that will always be here. Not a thing exactly. More like a space. A space in which everything appears and disappears. A space that holds all the thoughts about good and evil without being stained by them. A space that holds all the actions, all the consequences, all the suffering, and all the joy, without being changed by any of it. This space is what you are. Not the thoughts, not the body, not the personality. See who? Not the history, not the name, not the story. You are the space, the awareness, the presence, and in this recognition, there is a deep release. A release from the need to be good, a release from the fear of being evil, a release from the endless project of self-improvement, of trying to become a better person, not because being better is unimportant, but because the one who is trying to become better is not who you really are. Who you really are is already complete, already whole, already at peace. The trying, the striving, the struggling to become good, this is all happening within you, not as you. You are the witness of the striving, the space in which the striving occurs. And, as the witness, you are untouched by success or failure. You are simply here, opened, tight, empty, full, in, at rest. This does not mean that the striving stops. It may continue. The desire to be kind, to help, to reduce suffering. These desires may still arise, and they can be allowed to arise. They can be acted on when action is called for, but they are no longer a burden. They are no longer a source of anxiety or self-judgment. They are simply what happens in this awareness under certain conditions, like the breath, like the beating of the heart, like the movement of clouds across the sky. There is no one inside trying to be a good cloud. There is just the cloud, moving as it moves. And there is the sky, holding it all. You are the sky, the clouds of good intention, the clouds of harmful impulse, the clouds of confusion, the clouds of clarity. They all come and go. They all pass through. They all dissolve. And the sky remains, always, unchanged, at peace, Think of all the people who have done terrible things in the name of good. Think of all the wars fought for the best of reasons. Think of all the cruelty justified by the highest ideals. This is not an accident. This is what happens when the idea of good becomes separated from awareness, when the label becomes more important than the reality, when the concept of goodness is used to justify actions that are not good at all. This is why the great traditions have always warned against spiritual pride, against the danger of believing that we are on the side of the angels, against the temptation to use our goodness as a weapon. The moment we believe we are good, we have already lost something. We have already created a self that needs to be defended. We have already divided the world into us and them, and from that division, all harm flows. Not from evil, from the belief in our own goodness. This is a paradox, a deep one, but it is worth sitting with, worth feeling, worth letting it work on you, soften you, open you. The good person, in the deepest sense, is not the one who believes they are good. The good person is the one who has forgotten about being good, who simply acts as the situation requires, without reference to any identity, who is present, open, responsive, who does not need to be anything and so can be everything that is needed in this moment. The breath continues, the body rests, and in this rest, there is a letting go of the need to know, the need to understand good and evil once and for all, the need to have a philosophy that explains everything. This need is also part of the dream. It is another movement within awareness, and it can be allowed to settle, to sink into the stillness, to become quiet. In the quiet, there is no need to know. There is just being, just this, just here. And in this being, the question of good and evil is not answered. It is dissolved, not because it is unimportant, but because it is seen from a different place, a place where the question itself is seen as a movement within awareness, not as something that awareness needs to solve. Awareness does not need to solve anything. It is already solved. It is already complete. It is already at peace. The questions arise, and awareness knows them. The answers arise, and awareness knows them. And then they pass, and awareness remains, always unchanged, at rest. This is the invitation, not to find the right answer, not to become a better person, not to finally understand good and evil, but to rest as awareness, to rest as the space in which all of this appears, to rest as the witness that is not touched by any of it, to rest as the sky that holds the clouds without being disturbed. From this rest, everything is possible. From this rest, action can arise that is truly free. From this rest, kindness can flow without effort. From this rest, the world can be met as it is, without the need to change it, and yet with the full capacity to respond when response is needed. This is not a philosophy. It is not a belief. It is a direct experience, an experience that is available right now, in this very moment, as you read these words, as you breathe, as you rest. You are already that awareness. You have always been that awareness. You have just forgotten. You have been distracted by the dream, distracted by the thoughts, distracted by the judgments, distracted by the endless drama of good and evil. But now, for this moment, you can remember. You can let the distraction fall away. You can rest in what has always been here. the simple fact of being aware, the simple presence of consciousness, the simple mystery of existence. This is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. The breath moves slowly, in and out, and with each breath, there is a deepening of rest, a deepening of letting go, a deepening of the sense that you are not the doer, not the thinker, not the judge. You are the space in which doing, thinking, and judging occur. And this space is not affected by what occurs within it. It remains open. It remains empty. It remains full. It remains at peace. This is your true nature. This is what you have always been. This is what you will always be, even when you forget, even when you get lost in the dream, even when you believe you are the character, fighting for good against evil. The truth remains. You are the awareness. You are the sky. You are the peace that is not disturbed. And in this moment, you can know this, not as an idea, but as a direct experience. Feel it. Feel the space around your thoughts. Feel the awareness that is reading these words. Feel the presence that has been here all along. This is it. This is what was always being pointed to. This is home. The night continues. The body rests. The mind, if it is willing, can let go of everything. Let go of all the questions. Let go of all the answers. Let go of all the struggles. Let go of all the identities. Let go of the need to be good. Let go of the fear of being evil. Let go of the belief that any of it matters in the way we think it matters. Not because nothing matters, but because the way it matters is not the way we think. It matters in the way that a dream matters to the dreamer. It matters while it is happening. But when the dream ends, what remains is not the content of the dream. What remains is the dreamer, and the dreamer is untouched. The dreamer is at peace. You are that dreamer. You are that peace. And even now, in the midst of the dream, you can know yourself as the dreamer. You can rest in the knowledge that this is all a kind of play, a play of light and shadow, a play of good and evil, a play of suffering and joy. And you are the one watching the play, not the one in the play. The watcher, the witness, the awareness. This is freedom. This is what was always being sought. This is what has always been here. The breath is soft. The body is still. And in this stillness, there is a sense of completion. Not completion of the journey. The journey continues. The dream continues. The play continues. But there is a completion in the knowing, a completion in the resting, a completion in the recognition of what has always been true. You are not the one who needs to be saved. You are not the one who needs to be good. You are not the one who needs to fight against evil. You are the awareness in which all of this appears, and that awareness is already saved, already good, already at peace, not because it has achieved anything, but because it never left its own nature. It never needed to be saved. It was always free. It is always free. Right now, in this moment, you are that freedom. You are that peace. You are that awareness, and nothing can touch it. Nothing can change it. Nothing can disturb it. It is your true nature. It is what you are. It is all you have ever been, and all you will ever be. The mind may still think. Thoughts may still arise. Judgments may still appear. The sense of good and evil may still move through awareness. And that is fine. That is part of the play. Let it come. Let it go. Let it be. You are not the thoughts. You are not the judgments. You are not the sense of good and evil. You are the awareness that knows them, the space that holds them, the peace that is not disturbed by them. Rest in that. Rest as that. Rest in the simple fact of being aware. That is enough. That is always enough. That is everything. The room is quiet. The breath moves gently. The body rests deeply. And in this deep rest, there is no need for anything else. No need to understand. No need to figure out. No need to become. Just this. Just here. Just being. And in this being, the question of good and evil is seen for what it is. A question, a thought, a movement within awareness. And awareness is not troubled by it. Awareness simply holds it. Awareness simply lets it be. And in the letting be, there is peace. Deep peace. The peace that passes understanding. The peace that is not made by thought. The peace that is what you are. Rest in that peace. Be that peace. And let everything else come and go, as it always has, as it always will. You are the one who remains. You are the awareness. You are home. The breath continues its gentle rhythm, in and out, without effort, without will, without anyone doing it. Just the breath, breathing itself. Just life, living itself. Just awareness, being aware. And in this, there is a profound simplicity, a simplicity that is always here, but usually overlooked. Overlooked because the mind is busy with its stories, its dramas, its judgments about good and evil. But now, for this moment, the stories can rest, the dramas can fade, the judgments can soften, and what is left is just this, just the breath, just the body, just the quiet awareness that knows them. This is enough. This is always enough. This is the peace that has no opposite. The peace that is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of clarity. The clarity that sees through the illusion of separation. The clarity that knows that good and evil are not two. They are one movement, one dance, one expression of the same energy. And that energy is not personal. It is not moral. It's simply what happens, what arises, what passes away. And you are the witness of it all, the silent witness, the one who never comes and never goes, the one who is always here, always now, always at peace. The night deepens, or the day continues. Time moves, but you do not move with it. You are the awareness in which time appears, the space in which time flows. And from this perspective, the whole history of human struggle with good and evil is seen as a kind of dream, a long, complicated dream that humanity has been dreaming, a dream full of heroes and villains, full of battles and reconciliations, full of suffering and joy, but a dream nonetheless. And in the dream, the distinctions are real. The battles matter. The suffering is genuine, but the dreamer is not fooled. The dreamer knows that when the dream ends, only awareness remains. And you are that dreamer. You are that awareness. And even now, you can know this. You can rest in this knowing. You can let the dream be the dream, without being caught in it. This is not dissociation. It is not indifference. It is the deepest kind of engagement. Because when you are not lost in the dream, you can respond to it with clarity, with compassion, with wisdom, without the distortion of fear or hatred, without the need to defend a position, without the burden of being right. From this place, action is pure. From this place, kindness is natural. From this place, even the most difficult situations can be met with peace. Think of all the times you have been caught in the dream. All the times you believed that something was absolutely good or absolutely evil. All the times you were certain that you were right and someone else was wrong. All the times you felt the righteous anger, the moral outrage, the need to fight. In those moments, was there peace? Was there clarity? Was there freedom? Or was there contraction, tension, suffering? The suffering of being right is real. It is a heavy burden. It closes the heart. It narrows the mind. It cuts you off from others and from yourself. And yet, it feels so good, doesn't it? The feeling of being on the side of good. The feeling of having a righteous cause. The feeling of knowing that you are one of the good ones. This feeling is seductive. It is addictive. It is one of the most powerful drugs the mind produces. And like any drug, it has a cost. The cost is peace. The cost is connection. The cost is freedom. The cost is the ability to see clearly, to love fully, to be truly alive. This is not to say that there are not real injustices in the world. There are. There is real suffering, real cruelty, real harm, and it is right to oppose them. But the opposition can come from a different place, not from the drug of self-righteousness, not from the need to be good, but from the simple recognition that suffering is suffering, and it can be met with compassion. That harm is harm, and it can be met with clarity. That cruelty is cruelty, and it can be met with firmness, even with force when necessary, but without hatred, without the need to see the other as evil, without the need to feel superior, without the need to be right. This is the way of the wise, the way of those who have seen through the dream, the way of those who act from awareness, not from identity. The breath continues, the body rests, and in this rest, there is an opening to a different way of being, a way that is not based on judgment, but on recognition that every being wants to be happy. Every being wants to avoid suffering. Every being is doing the best they can with the awareness they have. This is true even of those who do terrible things, even of those who cause immense suffering. They are lost. They are confused. They are acting from a place of deep contraction, deep fear, deep ignorance, and they suffer for it. They suffer in ways they may not even be aware of. They suffer because they are cut off from their own true nature, cut off from the peace that is their birthright, cut off from the love that is what they really are. This does not excuse their actions. It does not mean we should not protect ourselves and others from them, but it does mean that we can see them differently. We can see them as beings in pain, causing pain. And from that seeing, something shifts. The hard lines soften. The hatred dissolves, not because we are being good, but because we are seeing clearly. And clear seeing naturally brings compassion, not a weak compassion that tolerates harm, but a strong compassion that knows what is needed, that knows when to protect and when to reach out, that knows that the deepest healing comes not from defeating the enemy, but from transforming the conditions that create enemies, that knows that the line between good and evil runs through every heart, and that includes our own heart. This knowing is humbling. It is freeing. It is the beginning of real wisdom. The mind may still want to hold on to its certainties. It may not want to let go of its judgments. It may feel threatened by this openness. This is natural. The mind is designed to create stability, to find patterns, to make distinctions. It is not comfortable with ambiguity. It wants to know. It wants to be sure. It wants to have firm ground to stand on. But the deepest truth is that there is no firm ground. There is only awareness. And awareness is not ground. It is space. It is openness. It is the absence of any fixed reference point. To rest in awareness is to rest in uncertainty. To rest in not knowing. To rest in the mystery. And this is frightening to the mind, but it is also liberating, because when you no longer need to know, you are free. Free to experience things as they are, without forcing them into categories. Free to meet each moment fresh, without the baggage of past judgments. Free to be surprised, to be amazed, to be touched by life in ways that were not possible when you were always trying to figure it out. This is the gift of resting in awareness, the gift of not knowing, the gift of being open to what is. The breath moves softly. The body is at ease. And in this ease, there is a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for this moment, for this breath, for this awareness. Gratitude that, even in the midst of all the confusion and suffering of the world, there is this peace, this stillness, this home, and this home is not somewhere else. It is not something to be achieved in the future. It is here, now, always here, always now, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be rested in, waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere and simply notice what has always been present. The awareness that is reading these words, the presence that is hearing these words, the peace that is beneath all thoughts, all feelings, all experiences. This is what you are. This is all you have ever been. And this is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. The night is quiet. The mind is quiet. And in the quiet, the great drama of good and evil continues to play out. Somewhere. In the world. In other minds. In the news. In history. But here, in this awareness, it is simply seen. Seen as a movement. Seen as a story. Seen as a dream within the larger dream. And the seeing itself is free. It is not caught. It is not involved. It simply sees. And in the seeing, there is peace. Not the peace of indifference. Not the peace of turning away, but the peace of clarity. The peace of knowing that whatever happens, this awareness remains. This peace remains. This home remains. And from this home, action can arise. Action that is appropriate to the moment. Action that is not driven by fear or hatred. Action that comes from clarity and compassion. This is the only action that truly helps. The only action that does not create more suffering in the attempt to end suffering. The only action that is worthy of the name love. Think of the possibility of living this way. living from awareness, not from judgment, living from presence, not from position, living from openness, not from certainty. What would that be like? How would it change your relationships, your work, your sense of yourself? How would it change the way you respond to conflict, to injustice, to suffering? It would not make you passive. It would not make you weak. It would make you clear. It would make you strong. Strong enough to see without flinching. Strong enough to act without hatred. Strong enough to love without condition. This is the strength that comes from resting in awareness. The strength that is not based on being right. The strength that is not threatened by being wrong. The strength that is simply the natural expression of peace. The breath continues. The body rests. And in this rest, there is a deepening into the silence, a deepening into the space, a deepening into the awareness that has always been here. And in this deepening, the question of good and evil becomes less and less important, not because it is forgotten, but because it is seen in a larger context, seen from a higher perspective, seen as part of the play, not the whole of reality. And the one who sees is not part of the play. The one who sees is the witness, the awareness, the peace. And this witness has no opinion about good and evil. It simply sees. It simply knows. It simply is. And in this simple being, there is a completeness that needs nothing, that wants nothing. That's nothing. This is your true nature. This is what you are. This is home. The night continues. The world turns. Time passes. And through it all, you remain. Not the you of the story. Not the you of the body. Not the you of the mind. But the you that is awareness, the you that is presence, but the you that is peace. This you has no beginning and no end. It was not born, and it will not die. It is not improved by good actions, and not damaged by evil ones. It simply is, always, unchanging. Randoms configuracy at rest. And to know this, even for a moment, is to be free. Free from the burden of becoming. Free from the fear of failure. Free from the need to be good. Free from the terror of being evil. Free to simply be. To simply live. To simply love. This is the freedom that has been sought by all the great teachers. This is the freedom that is available to you right now, in this very moment, as you breathe, as you rest, as you are. The breath is soft, the body is still, the mind is quiet, and in this quiet, there is only this, only awareness, only presence, only peace. And this peace is not something you have achieved. It is something you have always been. It is something you have always had. It is something you can never lose, because it is what you are. Rest in that. Be that. And let everything else be as it is. Let the world be the world. Let good and evil be good and evil. Let the dream be the dream. And you, rest as the dreamer. Rest as the awareness. Rest as the peace that holds it all. This is enough. This is always enough. This is everything. The body breathes. The room holds you. The night or the day continues its quiet passage. And in this passage, there is a sense of timelessness. A sense that this moment has always been here, that it will always be here, that the form changes, but the content does not. The content is awareness. The content is presence. The content is the simple fact of being, and this fact is not affected by anything. It is the one constant in a universe of change, the one thing you can always rely on, the one thing that is always here, and it is you, not the you that changes, but the you that doesn't, the you that is awareness itself, the you that is home. Think of all the things you have done in your life, all the actions you have taken, all the words you have spoken, all the thoughts you have thought. Some of them you consider good, some of them you consider bad, some of them you are proud of, some of them you regret. But through all of them, who was aware? Who knew the thoughts? Who felt the feelings? Who witnessed the actions? It was the same awareness that is here now, the same presence, the same peace, and that awareness was not changed by any of it. It did not become better when you did something good. It did not become worse when you did something bad. It simply witnessed. It simply knew. It simply was. And it is the same now, unchanged, untouched, at peace. This is your true identity. This is what you have always been. This is what you will always be. The mind may find this hard to accept. It may want to hold on to the sense of being a separate self, a self that accumulates merit, a self that is responsible for its actions, a self that will be judged. But the self is a thought, a collection of thoughts, a story. And the story is not the storyteller. The story is told within awareness. The storyteller is awareness itself. And awareness has no story. It is the space in which stories appear. It is the silence in which words are heard. It is the peace in which all conflicts arise and dissolve. To know this is to be free of the story, not to reject the story, not to deny the story, but to see it for what it is. A story, a dream, a play of consciousness, and to rest as the one who knows this, the one who is never caught, the one who is always free. The breath moves gently. The body rests deeply. And in this deep rest, there is a surrender of the need to control, a surrender of the need to understand, a surrender of the need to be anything other than what you are. And what you are is awareness, simple, open, empty, full, nothing special, and everything. This is the paradox, the mystery, the truth. And in this surrender, there is peace. Not the peace of achievement, but the peace of recognition, the peace of coming home, the peace of being what you have always been. The night is still, the world is quiet, and you are here, not as a person, not as a mind, not as a body, but as awareness, essence, as peace. And in this being, there is no question of good and evil. There is only this, only now, only awareness. And it is enough. It has always been enough. It will always be enough. Rest in this. Be this. And let everything else come and go, as it always has, as it always will. You are the one who remains. You are the awareness. You are home. The breath continues its gentle rhythm, in and out. And with each breath, there is a letting go of the past, a letting go of the future, a letting go of all the thoughts about good and evil, a letting go of the need to be right, a letting go of the fear of being wrong, a letting go of the self that is trying to become better. And in this letting go, there is space. Space for what is. Space for this moment. Space for the simple experience of being alive. And in this space, there is a quality of goodness. Not the goodness that is opposed to evil, but the goodness that is simply the natural state of awareness. The goodness that is peace. The goodness that is love. The goodness that needs no name. This is the goodness that the great teachers have pointed to. The goodness that is not a quality of the self, but the self's true nature. Your true nature. Here. Now. Ton. Always. The body is at rest. The mind is at rest. And in this rest, there is a sense of completeness. Not completeness as in having everything, but completeness as in needing nothing, because everything is already here. Everything is already present. In this moment, in this awareness, in this peace, the whole universe is here. All of time is here. All of experience is here. And you are the one who knows this. The one who is this. The one who has never left home. Rest in this knowing. Be this knowing. And let the world be the world. Let the dream be the dream. Let the play of good and evil continue. You are the one who watches. You are the one who is never touched. You are peace. The night deepens. The breath softens. And in the softening, there is a fading of the boundaries, a fading of the sense of separate self, a fading of the distinction between inside and outside. And what remains is just awareness, just presence, just this. And in this, there is no good and no evil. There is only what is. And what is perfect. Not perfect in the sense of being without flaw, but perfect in the sense of being exactly what it is, exactly what it has to be, exactly what awareness is experiencing in this moment. And that is enough. It is always enough. It is the only thing that has ever been enough. Rest in that. Be that. And let go of everything else. The breath is almost imperceptible now. The body is barely felt. And in this barely, there is a vastness that has no edges, a vastness that has no center, a vastness that is simply awareness, aware of itself. And in this self-awareness, there is a profound peace, a peace that is not the absence of noise, but the presence of silence, a silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness, a stillness that is not the absence of movement, but the presence of awareness. This is what you are. This is all you have ever been. This is home. The night holds you. The silence holds you. The awareness holds you. And in this holding, there is nothing to fear, nothing to want, nothing to become. Just this, just here, just being. And in this being, the question of good and evil dissolves, not because it is answered, but because it is seen to be a question that arises within awareness. And awareness does not need to answer it. Awareness simply holds it. Awareness simply lets it be. And in the letting be, there is peace. The peace that is beyond all questions. The peace that is beyond all answers. The peace, that is what you are. The breath is still. The body is still. The mind is still. And in this stillness, there is only awareness, only presence, only peace. And this peace is not something you have. It is something you are. It is not something you feel. It is something you are. It is not something you experience. It is the one who experiences, the one who has always been here, the one who will always be here, the one who is home. Rest in that. Be that. And let everything else be as it is. Let the world turn. Let time pass. Let good and evil play their endless game. You are the one who watches. You are the one who is never touched. You are peace. You are awareness. You are home. The night is deep. The silence is complete. And in this completeness, there is nothing left to say, nothing left to think, nothing left to do. Just this, just here, just being. And in this being, there is a rest that has no end, a peace that has no opposite, a home that has no door. This is what you are. This is all you have ever been. This is enough. This is everything. Rest now. Rest as awareness. Rest as peace. Rest as home. And let the rest of the world be what it is. You are what you are. And what you are is enough. Always. Now. Forever. The breath, if it still moves, moves on its own. The body, if it is still felt, rests on its own. And you, the awareness that knows both breath and body, rest in yourself. Rest in the simple fact of being aware. This is the deepest rest. The rest that requires no effort. The rest that has always been here. The rest that is what you are. And in this rest, the whole drama of good and evil is seen as a distant play, a play that matters in its own way, a play that has consequences in its own realm, but a play that does not touch the one who watches. The one who watches is untouched. The one who watches is free. The one who watches is peace. And you are that one. You have always been that one. You will always be that one. Rest in that knowing. Be that knowing, and let everything else go. The silence deepens. The awareness widens. And in this widening, there is no separation, no self, no other, no good, no evil. Just this, just presence, just peace. And this peace is not something that comes and goes. It is not something that can be lost or found. It is what you are. It is all you have ever been. It is all you will ever be. Rest in this. Be this. And let the world be the world. You are home. You have always been home. There is nowhere else to go. Nothing else to become. Just this. Just here. Just awareness. Just peace. The night continues its quiet passage. The body rests in its stillness. The mind rests in its silence. And you rest in yourself. In the awareness that has no name. In the presence that has no form. In the peace that has no opposite. This is the end of the search. This is the end of the question. This is the end of the struggle between good and evil. Not because the struggle is over, but because you are no longer in it. You are the one who watches, the one who knows, the one who is free. And in this freedom, there is only peace, only love, only awareness, only this. Rest here, be here, stay here, for as long as you like, for as long as you are. There is no need to leave. There is nowhere else to go. This is home. This is always home. This is the only home there is. The breath, if it still moves, is barely a whisper. The body, if it is still felt, is barely a presence. And you, the awareness that knows them, are barely a thought, barely a sense, barely a feeling, just the faintest knowing, the faintest presence, the faintest peace. And in this faintness, there is everything. Everything that ever was, everything that ever will be, everything that is, all contained in this simple awareness, this simple presence, this simple peace. And it is enough. It has always been enough. It will always be enough. Rest in this. Be this, and let go of everything else. Let go of all the words. Let go of all the thoughts. Let go of all the questions. Let go of all the answers. Just rest. Just be. Just peace. The night is still. The silence is complete. And in this completeness, there is only awareness, only presence, only peace. Oh, and this peace is not something you feel. It is something you are. It is not something you experience. It is the one who experiences, the one who has always been here, the one who will always be here, the one who is home. Rest in that. Be that, and let everything else be as it is. Let the world turn. Let time pass. Let good and evil play their endless game. You are the one who watches. You are the one who is never touched. You are peace. You are awareness. You are home. And in this home, there is nothing more to say, nothing more to think, nothing more to do. Just this, just here, just being, just peace, forever, always, now.